Over 20,000 Canadians lost their driver's license in just the first half of 2025, and not because of speeding or DUIs. Believe it or not, some were suspended for things like unpaid child support, a controversial social media post, or even missing an eye exam. Sounds extreme? It's real, and it's happening right now across the country. This year, Canada introduced a wave of tough new laws that most drivers don't even know exist. But here's the kicker. You could be one small mistake away from losing your license without ever getting behind the wheel drunk or breaking a traffic rule. From surprising mental health checks to laws tied to carbon taxes, this isn't just about safety, it's about control, accountability, and in some cases, punishment. Stay with us, because by the end of this video, you'll see how 10 new Canadian laws could quietly strip you of your license, even if you think you've done nothing wrong.
Number 1. The Distracted Driving Expansion Act. Think distracted driving just means texting behind the wheel? Think again. In 2025, Canada passed the Distracted Driving Expansion Act, and it's way more aggressive than most people realize. Under this new law, the definition of distracted driving has been massively broadened. It's no longer just about sending a text or making a call. Now, scrolling through Instagram, checking your Spotify playlist, watching a TikTok, or even unlocking your phone using Face ID while the car is in motion all count as offenses. And here's the scary part. 2 offenses within a 12-month period can result in a 90-day license suspension, even if you haven't caused a single accident. Just 2 taps on your phone and boom, you're off the road for 3 months. No driving to work, no picking up the kids, no road trips. Lawmakers say this crackdown is in response to a sharp increase in tech-related collisions, many of them fatal. With smartphones becoming almost an extension of our hands, distracted driving has become one of the top contributors to accidents in urban areas. This law is designed to send a clear message: your notifications can wait. So, what can you do? Simple. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb while driving, use voice commands if absolutely necessary, and invest in a proper phone mount if you rely on GPS. But even then, avoid touching the screen unless your vehicle is parked and turned off. If you think this law is extreme, just wait until you hear law number 4, which allows roadside testing for common medications, even prescriptions. Before we move on, let us know in the comments, have you ever been tempted to check your phone while driving? Be honest. And if you want to stay ahead of laws that could change your life overnight, hit that like button and subscribe. It helps us keep bringing you content that matters.
Number 2. The Unpaid Child Support Enforcement Law. In 2025, Canada introduced a powerful update to an existing enforcement tool, and it's catching thousands of drivers off guard. Under the new Unpaid Child Support Enforcement Law, individuals who owe more than 3 months of child support payments can now face automatic driver's license suspension, with fewer warnings and faster action than ever before. This law isn't about criminalizing parents, it's about ensuring accountability and prioritizing the well-being of children. The government has tightened enforcement through real-time income tracking systems and interagency coordination, making it much easier for authorities to flag missed payments. Once flagged, the system can trigger a temporary suspension notice, giving the individual a limited window to respond before the license is pulled. What makes this law especially impactful is how unforgiving it can be. Even if you've missed payments due to job loss or illness, unless you formally updated your file or entered a payment plan, the suspension can move forward, no court appearance needed. This has led to thousands of Canadians being blindsided, discovering their license was invalid only when they were pulled over or tried to renew it. However, the law does allow for quick reinstatement in certain cases. Individuals can often regain their license by setting up a repayment agreement, though the process varies by province. Some provinces even require attending a hearing or providing financial disclosures before reinstating driving privileges. Supporters argue that this law gives children's needs the priority they deserve, while critics say it can punish already struggling parents and make it harder for them to get to work, which in turn affects their ability to pay. Regardless of where you stand, one thing is clear. If you fall behind, your ability to drive and work could be gone before you even realize what's happening.
Number 3, the Mental Health Fitness to Drive Review Act. One of the most debated laws introduced in Canada in 2025 is the Mental Health Fitness to Drive Review Act, a policy that's raising serious questions about personal privacy, safety, and fairness. Under this law, certain mental health conditions now require drivers to undergo a medical fitness assessment before they can renew or retain their driver's license. At first glance, it might sound like a positive step toward improving road safety, and that's how it's being promoted. Authorities argue that cognitive clarity, emotional stability, and situational awareness are all essential for safe driving, and untreated or severe mental health disorders could impact a person's ability to react, focus, or make quick decisions behind the wheel. The law targets conditions like severe depression, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and generalized anxiety disorder, but it's not as black and white as it seems. It doesn't mean everyone with a mental health diagnosis is banned from driving. Instead, the law mandates that certain individuals must get a doctor's clearance, proving they are medically fit to operate a vehicle. However, this process can be complicated and slow, especially in provinces with long wait times for psychiatric appointments. Some individuals have reported losing their license temporarily simply because their paperwork wasn't filed in time, not because they were unfit to drive. There's also the issue of stigma. Mental health advocates worry that this law might discourage people from seeking help, fearing they could lose their independence. Others argue it places unnecessary scrutiny on people managing their conditions responsibly. Still, the government insists it's a preventative measure, aimed at avoiding tragic accidents caused by untreated or deteriorating conditions. For now, if you've ever been diagnosed with a condition on the review list, you may be required to provide updated medical evaluations even if you've been stable for years.
Number 4. The Substance Testing While Driving Act. In 2025, Canada rolled out the Substance Testing While Driving Act, expanding roadside testing far beyond alcohol and illegal drugs. This new law now allows law enforcement to conduct saliva-based roadside tests for a range of substances, including certain prescription medications like opioids, sedatives, ADHD treatments, and anti-anxiety drugs. What makes this law particularly alarming for many is that it targets substances you may legally be prescribed by your doctor. Medications such as oxycodone, Ritalin, Ativan, and even medical cannabis can now trigger an impaired driving charge if they are found in your system during a roadside stop, especially if the officer believes they are affecting your ability to drive safely. The goal of the law is to reduce drug-impaired driving, which has quietly become one of the fastest-growing causes of road accidents in Canada. Unlike alcohol, the effects of prescription drugs vary widely depending on dosage, individual tolerance, and interaction with other medications. Because of this, police officers are now trained to look for signs of drowsiness, confusion, slow reaction time, or erratic behavior, even if no law was visibly broken on the road. One major issue is that some of these substances can remain in your system long after the impairing effects have worn off, creating confusion and frustration among drivers who rely on medication for chronic conditions. While the law does allow you to carry proof of prescription, that doesn't automatically protect you from consequences if an officer suspects you're impaired. Critics argue this law creates a gray area that unfairly penalizes people with medical needs. Supporters say it closes a dangerous loophole. Either way, if you're taking any medication that affects the central nervous system, you're now expected to consult your doctor or pharmacist about whether it's safe to drive and to carry documentation with you at all times. Number 5. The aggressive driving and tailgating penalty increase. Aggressive driving has long been a problem on Canadian roads, but in 2025, the government officially escalated its response with the aggressive driving and tailgating penalty increase. This law reclassifies behaviors like tailgating, weaving through traffic, brake checking, and excessive horn use as part of a new category, high-risk driving conduct. Under this legislation, drivers caught engaging in these aggressive behaviors now face much harsher penalties, including immediate license suspension after 2 offenses, even if no accident occurs. In the past, these actions might have resulted in a warning or small fine, but now repeat offenders are flagged and may be forced to complete a mandatory re-education or defensive driving course before their license can be reinstated. The change was prompted by a significant increase in road rage incidents, many of which have been caught on dash cams and shared on social media. In fact, several provinces have even started accepting citizen-submitted dashcam footage as admissible evidence, allowing drivers to report reckless behavior in real time. That means your actions could be reported and used against you even if no police officer witnesses the incident firsthand. Lawmakers say this law is designed to make roads safer by cracking down on intimidation tactics and reducing the number of avoidable accidents caused by aggressive drivers. But the real-world impact has been immediate. Thousands of drivers have already faced increased fines, license suspensions, and even temporary vehicle seizures. Even something as seemingly minor as tailgating and stop-and-go traffic can now be classified as high risk if caught more than once. The message is clear. Driving aggressively isn't just rude, it's now a fast track to losing your license. So whether you're running late or just frustrated with traffic, the cost of aggressive driving in 2025 is higher than ever before. Number 6. The online threat or harassment clause. In a bold and controversial move, Canada introduced the Online Threat or Harassment Clause in 2025, a law that connects your digital behavior directly to your driving privileges. For the first time, individuals convicted of online harassment, cyberbullying, or issuing digital threats can face not only legal consequences, but also temporary suspension of their driver's license. This law is part of a broader national effort to combat the growing epidemic of online abuse, especially on social media platforms. Lawmakers argue that harassment, whether it's anonymous trolling, repeated unwanted messages, or threatening posts, has serious real-world impacts. Now, under this law, if you're convicted of such behavior in court, the judge can order a suspension of your driving privileges for up to 12 months, depending on the severity of the offense. What's the connection between driving and online conduct? The government's stance is clear. If you show reckless disregard for others in digital spaces, it raises questions about your judgment and emotional control, both of which are critical for safe driving. In other words, this isn't just about punishing bad online behavior. It's about creating real-world consequences that reflect the seriousness of digital misconduct. While some see the law as a long overdue step towards accountability in the age of cyberbullying, critics argue it's a dangerous overreach. They worry it opens the door for over-policing of online speech and blurs the line between personal expression and legal punishment. What's important to know is that this law only applies after a formal conviction, not just allegations or reports. But once convicted, individuals may be required to complete rehabilitation programs, counseling, or digital responsibility courses before getting their license back. It's a reminder that in 2025, how you act online can now follow you onto the road. Number 7. The Rideshare Professionalization Bill. In 2025, Canada introduced the Rideshare Professionalization Bill, a sweeping piece of legislation that's already transforming how part-time and full-time drivers operate on platforms like Uber, Lyft, and other ride-hailing apps. What many people don't realize is that this law doesn't just target large companies, it also applies to individuals offering unregistered or under-the-table rides for money, including informal rideshares through social media groups or classified ads. Under this new law, anyone earning income from providing transportation services, even occasionally, must hold a Class 4 commercial license and register their vehicle under a commercial insurance plan. Failure to comply can result in fines of up to $5,000, vehicle impoundment, and a suspended driver's license for repeat offenders. The law was passed in response to growing safety concerns and a surge in unlicensed drivers using personal vehicles for profit without going through proper checks or training. Officials argue that professionalizing the rideshare industry not only protects passengers, but also ensures drivers are qualified, insured, and held to a higher safety standard. What catches many people off guard is how broad the law is. Even if you're giving rides just a few times a month, maybe to help cover gas or make extra cash, you could still fall under this regulation. Some provinces have already begun automated tracking of ride-sharing activity through payment apps and vehicle location data, flagging accounts for further investigation. If you're caught driving for hire without the proper credentials, your license can be suspended on the spot, and reinstatement usually requires proof of compliance along with attending a licensing course. This bill is a signal that Canada is taking a no-nonsense approach to regulating gig economy drivers, and if you're part of that world even casually, it's now crucial to understand the rules before hitting the road.
Number 8. The Carbon Tax Enforcement Act. Among the most surprising additions to Canadian road laws in 2025 is the Carbon Tax Enforcement Act, a climate-focused policy that links vehicle-related carbon tax compliance directly to your driver's license status. At first glance, it might sound like something only businesses or heavy-duty transport companies need to worry about, but make no mistake, this law applies to everyday drivers too. Under this legislation, all vehicle owners are now required to pay an annual carbon surcharge calculated based on vehicle emissions, fuel type, and overall usage. For example, if you drive a high-emission SUV or a gas-guzzling truck, your carbon tax could be significantly higher than someone driving a hybrid or electric vehicle. Here's where it gets serious. Non-payment of this carbon tax, even by just a few months, can now trigger a license hold, meaning you won't be able to renew your driver's license, vehicle registration, or insurance until the balance is cleared. In some provinces, this hold can escalate into a temporary license suspension if left unresolved for more than 90 days. The reasoning behind the law is to encourage eco-conscious driving habits and ensure accountability in meeting Canada's climate goals. However, critics argue that it disproportionately affects low-income drivers who can't afford to upgrade to cleaner vehicles, and who may already struggle to keep up with rising fuel and insurance costs. Even hybrid vehicle owners aren't completely off the hook. The tax is tiered, not eliminated, and applies to most non-electric vehicles in some form. To stay compliant, drivers must now track their usage more carefully and pay the surcharge either annually or in quarterly installments depending on provincial guidelines. In essence, the Carbon Tax Enforcement Act is turning climate responsibility into a condition for maintaining your driving privileges, a move that's raising eyebrows across the country.
Number 9. The Road Rage Social Media Clause. In a move that blends digital accountability with road safety, Canada introduced the Road Rage Social Media Clause in 2025, and it's catching drivers off guard in the most unexpected way. This law allows provincial authorities to retroactively investigate and penalize drivers who post videos online showing reckless, aggressive, or illegal driving behavior, even if the footage is weeks or months old. Whether it's a clip of a high-speed chase, a burnout in a parking lot, or someone weaving dangerously through traffic for content, that video can now be used as evidence against the driver. If the individual behind the wheel can be clearly identified, either by face, voice, vehicle, or license plate, authorities have the power to issue fines, demerit points, and even suspend licenses, regardless of whether the incident was witnessed by police at the time. What makes this law so impactful is that it doesn't require live detection. Law enforcement agencies are now actively monitoring public platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, often tipped off by viewers who report these videos. Several provinces have created digital enforcement units dedicated to reviewing viral content and pursuing legal consequences where applicable.
The aim of the clause is to curb the glamorization of reckless driving, a trend that's been growing rapidly among younger drivers. Officials believe that if people know their social media posts could lead to real-world penalties, they'll think twice before using public roads as a stage for dangerous stunts. While some view it as a modern solution to a modern problem, others argue it raises privacy concerns and sets a precedent for punishing people based on online content. But one thing is certain. In 2025, what you post behind the wheel doesn't stay online. It could cost you your license.
Number 10. The Health and Vision Recertification Act. In 2025, Canada enacted the Health and Vision Recertification Act, a law aimed at improving road safety by ensuring that every driver, especially those over the age of 50, meets updated health and vision standards before renewing their license. At its core, the law requires drivers aged 50 and above to complete a mandatory vision test every 5 years, with stricter guidelines for reporting medical conditions that could impair driving ability. Why such a big change? Government data showed a sharp increase in collisions involving age-related vision issues, such as night blindness, peripheral vision loss, and slower reaction times due to declining eyesight. These incidents weren't just limited to seniors. Many occurred in drivers as young as their early 50s who didn't realize their vision had changed. The law also expands the list of health conditions that must be reported to driving authorities. This includes chronic illnesses such as diabetes, epilepsy, heart conditions, and sleep apnea, which may affect a driver's alertness or responsiveness. Under this law, failing to report a qualifying condition could result in license suspension even if no accident has occurred. To comply, drivers must now undergo approved medical checkups before certain renewal milestones. In some provinces, this means booking appointments with government-approved optometrists or physicians and submitting health declarations along with license renewal forms. If issues are found, drivers may be required to undergo additional tests, provide specialist reports, or even take a road safety reevaluation. Supporters of the law say it's a necessary safeguard as Canada's driving population ages. Critics argue that it may create unnecessary barriers for healthy older adults who are still fully capable drivers. But the underlying message is clear. Driving in Canada in 2025 isn't just about your driving record. It's also about your health, your eyes, and your ability to adapt as you age. So, there you have it. 10 new Canadian laws in 2025 that could take your driver's license away, often in ways most people never saw coming. From what you post online to your medical records, unpaid bills, or even how you act in traffic, the rules of the road have officially expanded beyond the road itself. These aren't just minor policy tweaks. They represent a major shift in how personal responsibility, digital behavior, and public safety are being linked to your right to drive. The message from lawmakers is clear. Driving is no longer just a skill or a privilege based on how well you handle a vehicle. It's now tied to your entire lifestyle, how you manage your health, your finances, your emotions, and even your presence online. For some, these changes will feel like long overdue accountability. For others, they might seem like government overreach, blurring the line between personal freedom and public policy. Whichever side of the debate you're on, the reality is simple. If you drive in Canada, you need to understand these laws, because ignorance won't save you from a suspension notice or a revoked license. The road ahead literally has new rules, and they're not just written on street signs anymore. Whether you're 18 or 80, a daily commuter or a weekend road tripper, these laws affect you. So stay informed, stay aware, and take these updates seriously, because in 2025, it's not just about how you drive, it's about how you live. And one wrong step, online or offline, might just be enough to take your keys away. Drive safe, live smart. The system is watching, and it's more connected than ever.